Welcome to episode number 394 of Get Paid for Your Pet, almost at 400. And today I have my friend and business partner, Mr. Eric Miller, on the podcast, and we have some big announcements. So it's going to be a fun episode. Eric, what's up?
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Good here in Barcelona. It's hot. Love this city. It's good to be back. Staying with one of our Legends X students, Mr. Jose. So shout out to Jose Manuel Gonzalez, who was kind enough to give me a really good deal on a nice little Airbnb here in the heart of Barcelona. So it's good to be
That's
back.
amazing, man. I didn't realize you were staying at one of our students' properties. That's pretty amazing.
I mean, we have so many students now that wherever I go in the world, there's always somebody in our group, right? That can stay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
To do a 1 year travel challenge where I want to stay at one of our students' Airbnbs every single day for 365 days. That'd be cool. Well, that'd be 2.
I love it, man.
Maybe 52 every week.
That's right.
Awesome. So the reason that I invited Eric on the podcast is because we have some really exciting stuff coming up. And so, Eric, why don't you give us some details here on what we're doing?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing to go into is the new podcast schedule, right? So it's something that you and I have been working on for quite some time, but starting with this show, we're going to create a weekly show where I'm on the podcast talking about the scale of short-term rentals. So obviously, with Legends X, I'm noticing that more and more people want to hear more about how to scale a real hospitality brand, how to scale a real short-term rental brand. And that's what I absolutely love doing and focusing on within this industry. So I'm excited. Every Thursday, we're going to have a scale show. We got to come up with a fancy little title for it. But now the Get Paid for Your Pet podcast has 2 episodes a week, which is be incredible.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. It'll be fun. Every week we'll pick a topic. Today we are going to talk about the hectic host, which is one of my favorite topics. So I'm excited to dive into that. But yeah, every week we'll have a topic that is related to growing and scaling the short-term rental business, right? So getting yourself out of the business and turning that full-time job that a lot of people have created for themselves into a real company with a team and with systems, and where you can get your time back and go on a holiday, for example.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm just excited about that, So I know you and I have randomly done podcasts from time to time, but I'm excited to just like getting in that rhythm and then just focusing on, all right, what do we have to do to actually grow a real company here, and focusing on a high level of short-term rentals and so I'm excited about it. Every Thursday, I'm gonna dive into it.
Every Thursday, we will have a new podcast coming out, so you can listen to Get Paid for Your Pet twice a week now instead of once a week. Boom. On Monday, we'll still do the regular shows. So it'll be me and usually another guest, or sometimes just me. But most of the time, we'll have a guest. So that's a new schedule for going forward. Every Monday with a guest, and then every Thursday, me and Eric jamming out, talking about a specific topic related to growing and scaling your short-term rental business. So we're going to share everything that we learn in the STR Legends Mastermind. We're going to share what we learned through the Legends X program that we just finished, which was incredible. And today the topic is the hectic host. So this is a term that you actually came up with. So I got to give you credit. And I think that term was genius because it just really describes a typical short-term rental host. So let's dive into it. What is a hectic host?
Yeah, it's interesting when you and I were kind of mapping out the different stages. So kind of give everyone some background if you haven't heard the phrase hectic host. What was it about? I guess about 4 or 5 months ago, sat down and created the 5 stages of hosting, right? And the whole concept behind that was we have students that come to us from all different stages in their hosting business that want to grow, and they're constantly running into, they want to grow, but they just don't know how to accomplish the vision that they have, or they lack a vision, all of that stuff. But there's just a handful of different phases and stages to hosting. So what I was looking at, I'm like, hey, we can't just keep tossing everything at a host and expecting them to build their business from a collective of information. So it's like, how do we analyze someone's business, and how do we focus on, depending on what stage you're at in your business, let's focus on those systems and those challenges within your company to be able to grow, right? So the third stage of hosting, the first stage is, the traditional host, right? Someone who is, renting out their house when they're traveling, renting out an extra bedroom, whatever that is. They're just focused on that one unit, not focused on scale. The side hustle host now is focused on, hey, this one unit is working. Let me go get another one. Let's create some income here, but not really focused on scaling a massive company. But then from there, what I recognized was there was this third stage that we now call the hectic host, where we as hosts love the business, we're making money, we start growing, we start getting more units, and we think that we're running a business. But this is the stage where we run into so many bottlenecks, so many challenges. This is where things become real in the hosting business, right? And at this stage, we have to decide, do we want to keep our business at this stage, at this level of units, or do we want to focus on actually building a real company around Airbnb and short-term rentals? So the hectic host is, and how I came up with that phrase was like, I was looking at my journey in hosting, and I recognized, I'm like, oh, when I first got my first unit, I was actually focused on just being a traditional host of what Airbnb was pushing forward. And then I recognized, I'm like, oh, and then I moved into like a side hustle, right? I was like, oh, let me go do a couple more of these things and make some extra cash, and not really focusing on like the top level of getting hundreds and hundreds of units. But then I moved into the hectic host stage, where I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to actually turn this into a company. How do I get 50 of these units? How do I get 100 of these units? How do I make $1 million on Airbnb? Right. And in that stage of that hectic host stage, right around like I had 15 units, that's where I started feeling the pressure of the business. I recognized I didn't have anything in place to actually, like, what you just said, like to go on vacation or go on a holiday, it's like I had nothing in place to be able to do that. So the business completely was reliant upon me, right? So even when I was on vacation, I was still on the Airbnb app communicating, right? And it's like, that hectic host position is so common for so many people that are in our sphere of, hey, I'm in this spot. I love the industry. We're making money, but I have no idea how to grow or get out of my own way. And then from there, the next level up, and what we really help our students do in the Legends X program is move from that hectic host position to what we call the rising star, which is still a little hectic, but now you have systems, you have some people, you're trending in the right direction. And then fifth is the legend, right? Someone who is running their short-term rental business based on systems, processes, and people. So, but yeah, we can go into that. Today is going to be all about the hectic host, because this is something that, we recognize that this is the stage that needs the most support on growing their company.
Yeah, you did a good job at describing that. And just to give a little bit more background on what we see that the typical hectic host does is, most people when they get into Airbnb, like you said, like the traditional host, they don't have the vision of building a big company when they get started, right? They typically don't have any entrepreneurial experience. They oftentimes, like you said, they start with one unit and then tell their friends and they pick up a few more. And before you know it, this little side hustle turns into a full-time job, right? Where you're pretty much the whole day you're reacting to, guest messages, you're dealing with cleaners, you're dealing with owners, maintenance issues. We see some hosts that actually still clean some of their units themselves, or they inspect them. So they're driving around like crazy, inspecting all the units. And what happens is, they operate from memory, right? They don't have anything documented. There's no processes, there's no systems in place. And then what happens is they can't really outsource anything, because they don't have the confidence that somebody else will be able to do the job as good as they do. Because, how are you going to expect somebody to do as good of a job if you don't have any training, or you don't have any documentation around how your business even works?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the challenge that we see them run into, right? They don't have that training and documentation. So then it's like, well, I can hire somebody, but then I'm going to have to explain everything. And that's probably going to take more time than if I just do the task myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, for everyone who's listening, like, if you're identifying with what we're talking about around the hectic host, and you're like, oh shit, like that's me. Like this is the stage I'm at in my hosting journey. Just know like that all this stuff is standard with growing a company, starting a business, right? So it's like, and I think that's where the hectic host really runs into the biggest challenge, is understanding where are they running a real business, or are they running a now full-time job, right? Two different approaches, right? You can get lost in running 10, 15 properties and running it as a job, where it's just 100% reliant upon you and your skill set and your time. And if you remove you, everything falls apart, right? That's a job. Where we're now have to start looking at, how do we actually run a business, and what is a business? A business is we're solving a problem for a customer, providing a service for somebody, but also we're building systems, processes, and hiring the best people possible to drive our vision forward, right? And every day what we're trying to do is either grow or remove ourselves as the owner or the host from the business, or both, grow and remove ourselves from the business, right? But I think this is the stage where we got to start looking at, am I running a side hustle / job, or am I growing a real hospitality brand company right now? So, but I mean, all this stuff is standard, right? Of growing a company. When you and I came together to create Overnight Success, everything that we're talking about here is relevant to the educational side too, of like, in the beginning, everything was relying upon us. And then over the last year and a half, really focusing on our systems, our playbooks, our processes, our technology, our focusing on like, how do we hire the best people possible who have incredible skill sets that can come in and help push this vision forward, right? So that's what we're talking about when we're looking at the hectic host. So yeah. And I would say one last thing there too, is like, this is so common. Everyone we seem to talk to is like, I love this industry. When they come to us, is I love the industry. We're making money, but I'm stressed the hell out. I don't want to deal with customer service anymore. I don't want to deal with cleaning. I don't want to I just want to focus on finding properties and creating incredible experiences for our guests and making money. Right. So yeah. This is the hectic host stage is a powerful stage to be in.
Yeah, and I think you're right that maybe not everyone, but most people are going to run into this stage, right? In any business, really.
Yeah.
Right. It's we were probably hectic educators, or like every niche has a hectic, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a part of the process, right? It's part of the, especially if you don't have a lot of entrepreneurial experience, but even if you do, because I was talking to Sean, like one of our Legends X students, we did a podcast with. So if you're listening to this podcast, you probably heard about him, but he said, he's been running businesses for, over a decade. So he was not new to the entrepreneurial world. But what he said was like, well, I've always been a hectic entrepreneur. Like this is always how I've run my businesses. I've never really been able to, to really build a team and get the systems in place to, to really focus on the higher level, the higher dollar tasks versus the lower dollar tasks. So it's definitely something that every entrepreneur is going to run into.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy because it's, I'm happy you shared that. What episode was he, by the way?
I think that was number 390. Yes, 390.
390.
Just looking it up. Yes.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm happy that he shared that story because it's like, man, it's like I've been in the entrepreneur space, building my own businesses since I was 17 years old. And, all I know is entrepreneurs. Like that's all I surround myself with of every different, stage. Last night I was at dinner with a CEO of a science tech or a medical tech company and a CBD company and a red light therapy company and a real estate developer. And it's all different stages. The med tech company is about to break $1 billion in valuation, right? Which is insane. And the red light therapy is doing millions of dollars selling these red light, products. But as I'm sitting there talking to them, and explaining what we do at Legends X and Legends and what we're doing with the property business and all of that, it's like everybody I was speaking to last night all share the same exact challenges, right? It's just different levels, different ones and zeros behind their income, but all challenges is the same. And when we were in Costa Rica, speaking to our friend about his company, right, which is a massive company, you and I started laughing because, he's $1 billion company and his problems were the exact same problems we were going through, just a different scale, right? And I'm like, holy crap, this is crazy. And it gives you the confidence to know like, oh, the crap that I'm going through in my business right now is not unique to me and they're all solvable. And even the companies that we look up to that, and it's amazing that we have access to these types of people to learn these lessons. But when we're sitting down there in Costa Rica talking about his business and he just did $1 billion or his company is $1 billion valuation, he's talking about the same problems that we're experiencing. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this is crazy. It's like, so when you're looking at like the hectic host position, I think that's the biggest realization to have is like, okay, all these challenges that I'm running into with customer service and cleaning and trying to find properties and dealing with homeowners, if we're, managing it or running into legal issues with our, location or whatever it is, it's not unique to that person. Right. So, which is good because then, like, oh, okay, how do I build systems or what questions do I need to ask to find the answers that I need to solve these problems, or who can I invest into to learn how they overcame it. Right. And that's why groups like Legends X and all of that are super, super powerful because you're learning what other people did to solve the same problems you're experiencing. And big reason why I love entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm a hectic host, you're not alone.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a solution. There's a solution too.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process, right? It's part of, just building a business. Everyone's going to go through these challenges. So, but yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the solution, right? So we recognize the problem. You're stuck in the day-to-day. You can't go on holiday because then everything falls apart. You're running around like a headless chicken. I love that expression. You feel a little overwhelmed, kind of stuck, and you're unsure how to get out of it because I always feel like there's a paradox in this position where we know that the solution is to document our processes, right? So we don't operate from memory. So we can then operate more effectively, right? When we have a system in place, but also that allows us to delegate to a team member, to hire somebody, whether it's a virtual assistant or whether it's an operations manager, whoever you manage, you hire boots on the ground. But in order to build those systems, you also need some time, because it does take some time to build these, right? So that's a question that comes up a lot, right? It's like, yeah, but I don't have time to build systems.
So I would challenge that, dude. I would challenge that. It's not that you need time. We all have the same amount of time. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. Even, Jeff Bezos, and he's jumping in his rocket ship and going to space. It's like everyone has the same amount of time. It's the discipline behind it. I would replace time with discipline. That's all it comes down to, right? So it's like, you and I recognize this early in our business, is like we had the time to do all the systems and processes and everything that we needed. It was really just the discipline to get it done, right? Because for people who aren't into systems or, documenting all that stuff, we want to focus on the fun stuff, finding properties, solving problems, right? And seeing a tangible result right there, not building a spreadsheet and a training video or whatever. So it just comes down to the discipline to say, okay, I'm going to carve out 2 hours today to understand what do I do when I have a customer service problem, when a guest is complaining about a property, or when this just happened, or whatever the problem is. Carve out 2 hours and solve, document it. So when it happens again, you have something to reference to. And then also too, it's like, you and I now, you mentioned like, we know that we have to document everything and create systems in our business. Not everybody knows that. Not everybody, especially at the head to coast stage, they don't know that that is the solution to their problem, right? If you're not introduced to systems, and you're not introduced to a system mindset and a process mindset, and asking the CEO questions of, what system, technology, or person can I bring in to solve this problem? You think that to solve the problems that you have in your hosting business is just working harder, right? Like, that's most people in the hectic host situation. It's like, or stage, it's like, I just have to work harder and my business is going to get better. I just have to solve these problems now. But what that does is just a business is just a constant problem solving machine. Problems are never going to go away. That's why we have to build the systems. That's why we have to ask ourselves the hard questions of what system, process, or what system, technology, or person do I need to help me with this now and in the future, right? And then one last thing on that too. What's that movie about McDonald's? It came out a few years ago.
Yeah, I love
what's that called?
Founder. The Founder.
Yeah, the Founder. I have this scene stuck in my head every single day. It literally won't go away. I see this scene every single day when we're working, especially now with like our rhythms of our daily huddles and everything that we do in our company, and getting ready to launch the property business. It's just constantly in my head. That scene when they were at the basketball court with their entire team, and they drew out the kitchen and going through the process of how to make the perfect burger in less than 20 seconds or whatever it was, right? And the process and the discipline to stay there all day to figure out the exact process to do it. And then that turned into literally the speed system. I think they call it the speedy system. Literally turned into what McDonald's is right now. That's literally the only difference between McDonald's and any other hamburger spot back in that day, was the discipline that the owners put into the systems, developing the systems, and then maintaining those standards in all of their locations, right? So if you guys haven't watched that movie, watch the movie The Founder, and think of me when you see that scene, because that thing won't get out of my head. I'm like, how do we create the speedy system for every company that that we work on and that we own?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that not everybody understands this process, and that we have to have these systems and stuff. Because now that you mention it, like, I'm thinking back, and now it's become such a standard in our company to whatever we do. Like we create a system, we create a task in our task manager. It becomes so normal that it's almost hard for us to imagine not using any systems, right?
Yeah.
It's almost hard to imagine as well that somebody, wouldn't think about the system. But you're 100% right, because when we first started working, like I didn't even know what a system was really. When I first heard you saying like, "Hey man, we got to build systems," I was like, what do you mean by that? I was thinking like a computer or something, like a computer system. Like I was confused about what that really was.
Yeah, and let me kind of give some background for everyone who's listening to what we're talking about when it comes to creating systems in your business, right? And this is not the only thing that we have to do to get ourselves out of that hectic host position. And this works for everyone, regardless if you have one unit or if you're in that hectic host position. But what we're talking about is really for hosts that are looking to grow a hospitality company, right? A short-term rental company, right? So if you're really focused on how to build and get more units, more revenue, more profit, all of that, the only way to grow is to focus on systems, technology, and people, right? It's the only way that we can do this. And we haven't talked about the vision side, so maybe, we can get into that, or we'll talk about that a bit, on another podcast. But the systems that we're speaking about, like we're talking about our company as an organization, on how it organism, on how it operates, how it lives, right? So everything from how we respond to emails, how we respond to how we run our daily huddles, how we run our daily tasks and reactive tasks and creative time, all of that stuff. Everything is thought out, tested, have a feedback loop, and constantly being built. So every single thing in our company, we're trying to look at, unless it's a creative side, right? Because the creative side of like coming up with a new marketing hook or whatever that is, if it's a creative side, we need less structure there, right? We need to be able to flow, because that's where creativity comes from. But to get there, we need the discipline to actually have that freedom to be creative, right? And the discipline comes from the systems that we build in every part of our business. And I think it's going to constantly be growing. So if you guys are like really focused on growing a short-term rental company, and this is what we teach in Legends X, right? There's really three main buckets to focus on. One is vision, getting super clear on what it is that you're building, who are you serving, why are you serving them, what is your revenue goals, what is your profit goals, what is your retirement date, right? Are you selling the company? Are you selling it, or are you going to turn this into a cash cow and pass it down to your grandkids one day, right? Like, what is the actual vision of what we're working on? So important to do that. Once we develop the vision, then we go into operations. Operations is all about systems, right? How do we turn that vision into a machine? We turn that vision into a machine with systems, processes, and people, right? And then once we have that machine ticking along and we're working on it and fixing it as it's starting to break down and building that whole thing up, then we focus on scale. And scale is all about how do we do two things. One is convert our current guests that are coming in through the OTAs into future direct book guests, right? Because we want to build that booking engine. So as we grow our company, we have consumer strength there. And then two is how do we set up rhythms and habits around marketing to find properties and have properties coming to us consistently every single day, right? If we focus on that, we can actually build a company, short-term rental company, to any level, right? If you want to make 6 figures a year, that's how you do it. If you want to make 7 or 8 figures a year on Airbnb, that's how you do it, right? So, but yeah, I love that stuff, man. Helping people get out of the hectic host position.
Yeah, and you mentioned vision. That's another thing that we noticed with the hectic host, right? People are taking on different types of units. kind of just jumping on the opportunities as they come along, without having like a clear plan or a clear idea around what type of properties do I really want to manage, what type of owners do I want to work with, right?
Yep.
If you're managing for other people, but also like what kind of guests, what's my guest avatar, right? Who do I want to optimize my hospitality experience for, right? What is my brand? What are my values of the company? What culture do I want to build in my team, in my company, right? Those are all questions that are really important to ask yourself before you start, scaling up, because otherwise it's going to be a mess, right? And otherwise it's just going to be a random collection of homes versus a real brand.
Yeah. What's interesting is, we were had a call with Coleman, one of our clients, just the other day, and he's in a market. He's been in his market for a handful of years. He currently has upwards of 50 units there, and he wants to scale. And we've been working with him privately on dialing in the vision, dialing in the operations. And now we're focused on scale for his company, because we got super clear on what he's doing with his company. And that took some time. That took a few months of like really working the vision and really working the operations behind his company and building systems and dialing in the tech that he's using to run the back end of his company, hiring the people that he needs to hire. Now we're going into scale, right? And this has been a 5-month process working with him to get to this point. So guys, this is not a overnight type of thing, right? There's a whole journey to becoming an overnight success, right? And there's a lot of background that people don't see. The journey's a lot longer than what your ego wants it to be, right? So we're finally at this stage, and we literally tore his company apart and recognized that for him to scale and hit the numbers that he wants to hit, he wants to kind of take over his market, get a few hundred listings in the next 12 to 24 months. We recognize that his most profitable properties and his properties that are the easiest for him and his crews to run are multi-suited properties. So there's multiple suites in one structure, like the house, a back house, and a apartment in the basement, right? We recognize like, hey, out of all the units that you're running, this is the best property to build systems around, to bring in the most profit, and economy of scales are there. So how many of these structures are available in your marketplace, right? That's first question. 2, how many of those are available to put on Airbnb to run as short-term rental? And then 3 is, what do you have to do to get in touch with those owners and get in there? And we mapped it out. And what we recognize is like, we now have to do half of the numbers that he actually wanted to do, half the listings that he wanted to do. We just focus on those individual properties, right? But now that he has the vision, he has the systems dialed in, and now we know the data, the scale side is going to be so much easier, right? And he's going to have a lot more fun because he's making more money. It's easier to run. He doesn't have 100 units around spread out across the city. Now he's got 50 units, 50 structures, but he has 3 listings in each one of those structures, right? So my point is like, guys, be patient with the process, get super clear on this, you build the systems, build the process. Because when you get to a point like Coleman, you have the ability to now just get after it and just get those properties and onboard it. And he doesn't have to worry about the back end of what's happening because he's relying on his team and his systems.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good, really great example. I'm glad you mentioned that one. We can talk for hours, on all of these topics, on how to get out of the hectic host position. You mentioned people, right? Finding the right people to hire for your business. That's something that I think we can do another podcast on. Just like some of the other topics, the vision, operations skill, which is basically the framework of our Legends X course, right? But for now, what I want to jump onto is we've built a pretty awesome, I would say, business assessment sheet, right? That we want to share with the audience, because we get so many questions from people. They learn about the 5 stages of hosting, they hear the hectic host, and they want to know, what stage am I at, right? Am I a hectic host? Am I a side hustle host? Where am I, right? Am I a rising star? So we put together a awesome business assessment sheet that we're today opening up to the public. So it's going to allow you to figure out where you're at. So if you want to go and see where you're at, you go to strlegends.com/grow. You fill out a number of questions, and there, boom, magically appears the result.
Yeah, to kind of give some context to that, one thing that we had to do when we were going into Legends X, we were asking ourselves, how do we truly understand the bottlenecks and what these hectic hosts need to get out of that position and get to the rising star, the legend, right, of their business, and become a millionaire manager and get to that point where they're relying upon systems. Like, how do we actually assess people's businesses? So this Airbnb, we call it the Airbnb business assessment, right? It's 40 questions. This one is open to the public, is 40 questions. You go through that. How long will it take? Less than 10 minutes to get through?
Yeah, it'll take less than 10 minutes.
So literally you're just going to go through this. You're going to click off. You're going to fill in some information. At the end of your assessment, we're going to give you ratings based on every aspect of your business, from people to systems to vision and everything in between. We're going to rate your business, and then we're going to give you a score on your company. And where the value is in this is giving you a snapshot, a 30,000 foot view of your business, so you know exactly what you need to focus on first. One of the biggest challenges with hectic hosts is that we try to focus and fix everything in our company, right? What we have to do is prioritize. We have to understand where are the biggest opportunities for growth that will have the biggest ROI on our time invested, right? And this is what that assessment is going to do. It's going to give you that rate and give you some clarity, a snapshot, 30,000 foot view of your business, so then you can make educated decisions on how to start moving your company forward. So this is something that we wanted to open up to the public because it was so powerful for our Legends X students. So yeah, guys, just head over there, 10 minutes. Plus, we also we created some training. So based on your score, we're going to give you a few videos on what we recommend based on your score in your business, on what you have to do in the next 90 days to actually transform your business. And this is exactly what we do with our Legends X students who, I mean, man, like, we're going to go into some more podcasts in the future about the results, but freaking game changer for 52 companies around the world. It was unbelievable. So yeah, just go through the assessment, strlegends.com/grow. It'll take you 10 minutes and you'll get a snapshot of your business.
Yeah. And we saw in Legends X that this assessment was super powerful. It was a bit bigger. We've narrowed it down a little bit, but what I found really interesting is that a lot of people, not only was it really valuable to get that result, but also through answering these questions, a lot of the students got really inspired, right? Because some of the questions will give you an idea of like, oh, I never actually thought about that aspect of my business, right? So yeah, there's no cost. Of course, this is completely free. strlegends.com/grow. Depending on your score, you'll be able to see the different categories. So it'll give you a lot of insight, but also depending on the score, we will give you some free training as well. That's tailored to where you're at in your business based on the results of the assessment. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to see. It was so interesting to see the results from the 52 companies that went through Legends X. So I'm also really, really excited now to see the results and the scores of everybody who's going to fill this out.
Yeah. And just kind of give some direction around that too. This isn't going to be available forever. We just wanted to kind of open it up for a few days here to give, the listeners an opportunity to go through it and the rest of the people in our community. But this is a internal assessment that we use inside Legends X. So we want to give you guys the not only the chance to go through that and get a snapshot of your own business, but also kind of give you a taste of like what we do to focus on helping companies transform their hosting business inside the Legends X program. So I believe it's only available open to the public for a few days. So definitely take action on that immediately. And that's our little gift to you guys. It's like one of those personality tests for your business. Have you ever taken one of those?
Yeah. The one, what's it called? Briar Miggs?
Briar Miggs. Yeah. I did another one with Steve Trover from Better Talent to understand my skill sets. And yeah, I've taken like those personality tests. You know, Tony Robbins has his own and all that stuff. And it's cool. It's like, it's almost like a mechanic, like diving into your engine of your car and kind of giving you like, oh, this battery life is only 60%. So we're going to have to put a new battery in here and charge this up and blah, blah, blah. Like it gives you the opportunity to get yourself out of the business and start looking into it from a 30,000 foot view. So yeah, guys, strlegends.com/grow.
That's right. And by the way, I'm an ENFP.
Yes, I have no idea what I am, and I don't know what that means, but I remember those initials. What does that mean?
I'm gonna guess you're an INTG.
I'll take it.
Do the test and see if I'm right.
All right.
Great. All right, guys. So we're getting to the end of this podcast. Go to strlegends.com/grow. Also, keep an eye out for our emails. If you're not on our email list yet, you can go to getpaidforyourpet.com and put your email down because we'll have some. This is not the only monkey we have up our sleeves in the next few weeks.
You got a monkey up your sleeve?
Yeah, you didn't see it?
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Yeah, we were in Costa Rica and I brought some monkeys back. So we got some more of those monkeys coming out of our sleeves in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you're on our email list. If you're already on the list, make sure you keep an eye out because we'll be sending you some cool stuff in the next couple of weeks. For now, just go strlegends.com/grow. That's also a way to get on our email list, actually. So you get two stones with one bird.
That's right.
Or the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, we can throw a bird at two stones. That's fine. We can do that.
Awesome. All right, man. Appreciate you being on here. Any last thoughts that you want to share?
No, that's it. We'll see you guys next week. We got some other stuff coming out. Been working on quite a bit. Team is growing. Vision is growing. So we're excited. We'll see you next week.
For sure. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, of course, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this, then just know that you can find us in different places. We are on Spotify, we're Apple, iTunes, YouTube, we're everywhere. So wherever you see us, give us a like, give us a review, and we'll see you on Monday with another podcast of Get Paid for Your Pet. And next week on Thursday, Eric and I will be back and we'll be talking about another topic related to growing your short-term rental business. So thanks, Eric. Thanks to the listeners, and see you next time.
Peace.